You're late, John.
Hello, we are live. My name's Alec. This is the new Comic Book Day Book Club. Welcome back to my channel, White Whale Comics. Today, we are talking about Little Bird 2. Not really. I only bring that up because I don't have the book.
I'll show the book instead.
Thank you.
I'll be the book shower.
I had a bit of a hiccup picking up the book this week. But I read it digitally. Digitally. With me, as always, my right hand or left hand man, depending on which side of the screen he's on, is my buddy John. Hi, John.
TJ's saying I'm always late. I'm not always late. I'm usually really good about this. What the heck? Throwing me under the bus right out the gate, TJ.
And for the first time, we've had multiple people on, but we've never had 4 squares.
That's right.
So we've got returning once again, ComicBooksNYC. What is up?
What is up? Thanks for having me back, guys. I think this is the show where I actually made my first appearance way back in the day on Guardians of the Galaxy #1, and it's also the show that I missed my possible first appearance for Batman Who Laughs #1, and Bueller had to fill in for me because I was deathly ill. So this show brings up so many memories for me. I love it. I'm
glad you are not deathly ill this week. And joining us for the first time, Bake the Snake. What is up, brother?
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Foursquare, I remember that game. It was a great game. But yeah, thanks for having me, man. Glad to be here. I've talked to John and White Whale behind the scenes for a little while now, and glad to be invited to the show.
Absolutely. Pleasure to have you.
I'm glad you could get your book. I know there was a little can I get it on time?
I pulled an Alec, and I had to get my iPad out, so I'm kind of reading Neverending Story and Ascender at the same time.
Perfect.
Quickly, I'll shout out the chat. ComicBooksNYC demanded to be first, even though he is in the panel. 90 MF Comics Y290. What is up? Welcome back. John's Comics with Kids. I'm not going to talk about that guy. Nobody, no one. Gray Matter Hulk says, ascend into hilarity. That is a high bar for us to reach. Caleb, the Comics Smurf Murphy. TJ, the Slab Dragon Watson. Hello, sir. Comics 4 Thomas. Wing Nut. Sammy Strikes Back. Hi, Sammy. Who else we got here? Old Wolf 65. That's it. So far. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday evening, New Comic Book Day. So we were just discussing before we started that I'm really the only one who has read a lot of the previous title, Descender. John has 0 issues read, and the other 2 fine gentlemen have read the first trade or so.
I've read enough to pique my interest and know that I want to finish the series at some point. Around the time that it was coming out, I think I got more wrapped up in the saga, and I went that direction as opposed to going all the way down the ball and finishing Descender. And I recently reread the first volume just to see if I can connect the dots, because I knew I was going to be doing the show. But Ascender is interesting so far, so I'm looking forward to talking about it.
So my first question to the panel is, do you feel like this is standalone? Do you feel like you needed a background in the universe?
Why don't we let John answer that one, because he's got no prior experience, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I don't think it purely stands alone. I do feel like the expectation is that you are familiar in some ways with this world and some ways with what's going on. But I also feel like it's really good about not just spoon feeding you explanations to everything. So I never felt like I was being talked down to, or that I was being given the answers to all the questions. None of that awful exposition that we're always ranting about.
Yeah.
None of that. But at the same time, I did feel like the expectation was that you came into this book knowing more than nothing.
So I will say, reading this from the lens of knowing the world, this is a very different world than Descender.
For sure.
And a lot of the stuff that probably you have questions about, I also have questions about. I'll say it that way.
Like for me, like you know, everyone knows by now that I'm a diehard Star Wars fan, and I got a lot of different Star Wars vibes from Ascender, but I also got Star Wars vibes from Descender. It's almost like they're from two different eras of Star Wars, you know, and then that makes total sense because the world building that Jeff Lemire does in Descender, you know, essentially sets the stage for a story that turns that world upside down in Ascender and takes it in a completely different direction. It's like being in the scientific end of the sci-fi end of the universe in Descender, and then being in the fantasy Jedi realm of the universe in Ascender. That's so far, that's the vibe I get.
It's almost like Descender is if the prequels were good.
Right. Hey, don't knock the prequels. But I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
I know.
Would the expectation for this prequels be the same in the sense that they expect you to know, or at least be somewhat familiar with, the idea of the, you know, the Jedi, or the idea of these systems a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, certainly for me, like, it helped. I will say that magic does not exist in Descender.
Right.
Yeah, that's what was kind of throwing me off on this one. I didn't know if it was just maybe how like computer code evolved, and maybe that's what the magic is.
So my understanding is that this takes place what, like 12 to 15 years after,
like 10 years.
10 years after the end of Descender. I don't know what happens at the end of Descender, but I know that within Descender itself, there's a 10-year time jump or so, at least the part of where I have read it, you know, where there's a major inciting incident in the universe that essentially, you know, starts the change in the I guess the culture of the galaxy, right?
Yeah.
And how we get from essentially the end of the robot galaxy, right, to the no robots technology galaxy whatsoever is where there's the big missing space for me, because I haven't read the full series. So when I was reading this, some of those like little tidbits where they're saying, you know, where they're saying technology doesn't exist anymore, you know what I mean? Especially with those conversations with the mother character, that piqued my curiosity. Like, well, what happened? You know what I mean? I kept thinking about like, oh man, I want to go back and finish Descender, you know? So
exactly,
for me,
man.
Yeah, for me, reading through this, it was intriguing, and it teased me in many ways, because I do like the fantasy element. Like, I've been enjoying Die quite a bit, and that's on hiatus, you know what I mean, for at least for a little bit. So kind of filling in that void a little bit for me, even though it's not the same, it's not D&D style per se, but it's got fairy tale and magic elements in it. So it's kind of filling that void for me a little bit, but it's also really just making me want to go back and finish what I missed. Because
so I guess my question is more, if Descender didn't exist, would you question this as being like, are you wondering about Descender because it exists, or do you feel like there was stuff that you needed to know that wasn't being included? Like,
I think I'm wondering about Descender just because I know that it's there, and it makes me wonder if I missed something. But knowing that I read the first volume, I think it is kind of a standalone issue or series, because
it can work.
Laying the breadcrumbs just
work
like
on its
Descender
own.
did.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think it can work on its own.
We won't know. It's the first issue. They're laying the groundwork, and it's just like any other typical one. And it kind of reminds me how Descender starting off is that, like John said, they're not spoon feeding you the answers. It's slowly building up to answer some of your questions. Now, if they answer those questions, it's totally a standalone series. But
right.
I think it just helps that there's a prequel before it or something.
I mean, I don't know how spoiler heavy we want to get, but based on the character that enters in the
you can fully spoil this issue. I don't want to spoil this.
I mean,
spoiler room.
So I mean, based on the character that enters in the last panel or the last page, the last splash, you know, which to me I read as that was Bandit, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah. So, like, so, you know, if you haven't read any of Descender, you won't know who that is. But But
Really? It looked bigger to me, but maybe that's just zooming in on the panel.
no, so I read that as Bandit. So to me,
it says Fra.
That is, yeah, that is the strongest connection to Descender in the issue, is that last page, to me, like direct character connection, where all of a sudden you actually have the same character from that universe showing up in this timeline.
Grey Matter Hulk says, "Spoil it like milk on a hot day." So I want to get into the plot a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
So it starts off with this character called Mother, who, first of all, calls her like a dragon her ship, which I thought was really interesting.
I thought that was pretty rad, actually.
Feed my ship.
She emerges outside of like the mouth of the dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's an organic, right? Like that's kind of like the Saga type of thing where they merge organics and technology together.
She is fully anti-robotics, fully anti-technology, and they have a prisoner who is actually a dead member of the resistance force.
Right.
And they're like, we can't get anything out of him. We've tried everything. And she's like, well, you guys don't know what you're doing. I'm the mother. I am the master necromancer. So she goes and revives this corpse to question him. And one of the things I thought was really cool is that she said, don't think that death means you can't feel pain. I'll torture you for eternity or something like that.
That also revealed sort of like one of the, I guess, key mysteries that the storyline has brought up so far about this third party mage or, unknown person that's aiding the rebellion with magic. Whereas previously it was thought that only the mother has all the magic and controls all the magic.
Right. So she gets that much information out of this corpse. But he says, I don't know who it is. I only know that he's the light, basically. And she's like, I can't see this other source of magic. I should be able to see him. And then the corpse incinerates and turns into the head of a robot, which she is very distressed by. We then cut to this young girl who had a very Ray feel from
I agree.
7.
That's what I was going to say. The Force Awakens, and just before that opening scene when Mother comes in is just like Lord Vader coming in, or the Emperor.
Very Emperor-esque, I thought. There's a lot of, I don't know too much about Jeff Lemire, but it feels like he's a Star Wars fan, Well,
and this shot is basically like straight out of it, right?
Really is.
That Return of the Jedi, I think one of you guys was saying before we went live, is like that moment where they're walking pacing each other through the Star Destroyer. That's like straight out of it, or the Death Star.
Yeah, it's like he's talking to Vader right there, or it's like Vader talking to one of the generals.
So do you feel like it was too heavy-handed in that regard, or do you feel like it was just
I don't think it was too heavy-handed. It almost felt like it was like a respectful tribute or something.
Yeah, I think being a fan, I notice it more than somebody else would. But I think it's just a humble nod.
But it does feel like that scene with Rey in the marketplace in Jakku. Kind of,
she's trying to trade for food, and the guy's trying to rip her off. Oh, I'll only give you one piece.
Right, exactly. It kind of did feel like that.
And we get this idea of they're called the Saved, I think, right?
Yeah.
Where they're basically people who have found the love of Mother, or joined this cult, and they've become saved.
Right.
They've accepted Mother as the Lord.
They didn't necessarily dive deep into sort of the rabbit hole of exactly what the process is to become saved or anything like that, but they made it seem like that.
Like you just have to kind of pledge your allegiance.
Yeah, that you're on the list that has more flexibility in society if you're in that.
Because apparently there's more than just saved, right? They're saved, freed, and licensed.
Right.
So she has this kind of hidden rune on her arm, which appears that, or is kind of feels like everyone has one of these, and these guards find her and scan it, and they're like, "Oh, you don't belong here. You're lucky we found you, though," because they basically.
So Alec, let me ask you: is that rune, that I guess that tattoo system, is that a direct tie into Descender? Because I don't remember it in what I've read so far of it. Okay.
It seems like what you're saying is the only real connection between either of these, Descender to Ascender, is that last panel.
No,
there's got to be a couple.
I'm getting
There's one more.
I'm getting
Okay,
to the.
sorry, I don't
to
want to get ahead. I'm just trying to pick up because again, I'm like feeling my way in the dark here a little bit.
So this is not a spoiler for Descender at all, but her father is the main character of Descender named Andy.
Oh.
Yeah, no, that's what I was actually going to ask you before we started.
So I know who Andy is based on his relationship to Tim 21, the boy, the android boy.
I'm so happy that
the
I
other
was right.
main character of
I'm like,
I didn't know that he was still alive after the mining incident or whatever, and that they end up
exactly. That's where I'm at.
He comes back into the story, but I am kind of glad. So that makes me want to keep reading Descender even more. But anyway, let's keep going.
Old Wolf asks, "Is Descender in trade paperbacks?" Yes,
yeah,
it is complete. There is one deluxe hardcover out. The other one is coming out in December. Just got announced.
So I'm glad then, because I had made the assumption that when we got to that house, that the dad was significant to Descender in some way. He seemed like it felt very much like that, like this was a familiar character to help ground it for people that were familiar. It just felt, for some reason, it felt like a character that had history.
I mean, that's the panel right there where she's, they both bring up the mom, and then he has that quick moment of remembrance.
There's a character named Effie.
Okay.
So yes, that is the other direct connection. But otherwise, I felt like, so again, my question is, let's say Descender didn't exist and you got that moment of that little flashback. Would that be like, oh, I need to read something else to understand this?
No, that was enough for me.
Like I said, I just had questions about it because I know Descender exists. If Descender doesn't exist, I'm totally fine with it. They'll answer it later on.
Same.
And even if they don't, who cares? It's just it's the father of the story.
I just found that one panel powerful either way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very cool.
So.
With them going at it across the table.
Yeah.
And then
that one kind of reminds me of Star Wars too. Luke and Uncle Owen, and then she storms off out of there, and she's staring off at the stars, kind of like Luke in the sunset.
Right.
She has two moons. He has two sun setting. It's kind of the same parallel.
Frustrated with her existence, kind of, and when she has like her own inner monologues, that kind of reminds me a little bit of
the same things we all kind of go through. There's more. There's got to be more to life. There's more out there. I don't have to, be here, alone doing this stuff.
Yeah, totally. I mean, sure, that's something that I think everyone kind of thinks at one point or another, right?
Can we talk about the scene on Mata, the floating
Darth Vader's castle?
Yeah, floating Vader's castle. That's exactly what I thought of in my head too. I'm like, this is crazy. But
I'm loving the story so far too, and the references. It's great.
So Mother is kind of talking to this panel of ghost mothers who are her
the Council of Mothers.
Yeah. Like she is the daughter of a mother who we find out she killed to be able to become the mother.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. She called her a bitch.
Yeah. What do you want, bitch?
All the other mothers just like, greetings. She's like, bitch, what do you want? So she is kind of like seeking advice from them, saying, what am I supposed to do about this other mage or magic user? And they say something like, beware of the hound with the backwards tongue. And it's like, oh, thanks for the riddle. And then
that was one thing that, like, as soon as I saw that, and then I saw the repetition of it in the script, right?
Yeah.
I was wondering if that had anything to do with Descender. That I will admit, because he like purposefully chose to repeat the line, I thought maybe like, does that have something to do with Descender? And I guess it doesn't, but it sort of made me think that way because I know Descender exists.
Yeah.
So.
And then we get this really interesting, I thought the lettering was pretty interesting, the way they did the different characters, and when they go back to the young girl and her kind of thoughts about wanting to see more, or wondering
Kind of
what.
childlike.
Yeah,
handwriting.
that particular page, and maybe it's like page and a half. That reminded me of Saga a little bit. The both with the way that the art and the text was presented. Yeah.
So she's kind of wandering through the woods, and we get this overlay of her thoughts, wondering what else there is, and then she sees this what looks like a meteor come down, and it is a little robot dog who says "fra fra" because he's broken, and it's supposed to be "arf."
Wait, remind me what remind me what the driller bot called the dog. Was it like Yappity something or Yuppity dog or
something like that?
Yeah, I always laughed like when I read that in the original series.
And so this is kind of her first glimpse into seeing that technology and this sort of old world still exists, because it does not for her. And so that's how it kind of ends, to show you that it is still out there. So it makes you wonder, kind of, is Tim 21, the other main character, still, or is there some sort of connection to that old world?
I got a question, White Whale.
Yeah.
When the lady, when Mother is reviving, I don't know, you can see, you already have seen it, you got it, but when Mother is reviving the prisoner, and I think at another time in the issue too, she starts speaking magic. Like, to me, it looks like gibberish on the page. I know it's a different language, incantation or something, but in Descender, they find a robot that predates human civilization, and the code looks exactly like that. Is that kind of stand out to you at all?
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I didn't make that connection as far as it looking identical, but I haven't read Descender as recently as you, so
I made the connection, and I reread that. I think it was that was issue 6, I think, or 5.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
Like that.
So I went back and reread that issue today after I read Ascender because of that specifically, and I was
so it's making me wonder, is that because I didn't finish Descender yet either, is that something that ties to Descender, is maybe like the before the harvest?
I think it very possibly could. It just, we don't really know all the details yet. I don't know.
I'm glad a lot of mentions for Saga and Star Wars are coming up, because for me, those were definitely the 2 touchstones that I went to all through this. Right. And I'm glad that I wasn't the only one that spotted or felt that pull. I appreciated the idea of technology versus sort of, not, I don't want to say magic, but certainly like natural energy, right? I think that there's kind of that dynamic here. Was that in any way a part of Descender, or is this going to be just a theme for the new storyline?
I mean, one of the biggest aspects of Descender is that the galaxy being thrown in chaos by a technology element. Let's just say
so that theme is consistent.
Yeah,
but it wasn't so much like nature versus robots. I mean, it was to a point, because it has a very Battlestar-ish situation where the robots kind of uprise against humanity.
Because that interested me as a completely blank space reader, like I am in life. It kind of interested me, this idea of battling and that pendulum swing where technology takes this huge place, and then all of a sudden now the world is obsessed with mindfulness and meditation, swinging the pendulum back the other way, back to religion and faith, and like away from technology and back to nature. And I kind of enjoyed that dynamic, and that would be an interesting part of that. And what's that? I don't know that book. What's that book?
It's
Little
nothing.
Bird.
Don't worry about it.
What is it? Ladybird? Okay.
Ladybird. I thought that was a good movie.
Little Bird is Little Ant. So yeah, I would agree. But it's interesting because Hi, R2.
That's my Star Wars commander update. Sorry.
The hi, R2.
What is R2's thoughts on
Can't
the
stop him.
He likes the story too.
He's like, oh, robots. I'm one of those.
He's friends with Bandit.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that like typically like in Battlestar or something, you know, and even in Descender, the technology or the robots are the bad guys and humanity and the natural are the good guys. And in this, it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
Where or it's so it seems that
it has that vibe.
The mother character who is connected to the I mean, I guess not really natural order because she's a necromancer, but you know, is against the technology is the villain.
Right.
Because UGC were the
don't you mad TJ?
She's subjugating.
John, how dare
she's subjugating the rest of the galaxy.
Technically, that was a meh at you in like a roundabout way.
But I mean, similar to like what we were saying sort of earlier about the Emperor and like the Empire, like she's subjugating the rest of the galaxy by eliminating technology and making magic sort of the hidden element that you know is the law of the land that only she has control over.
Her will, right? Simply bending forcing her dogma on them, right?
Right. It's just pronounced dog because that's what Bandit is. So enough about the story. Let's talk about the real star of the show. How good is Dustin Nguyen's artwork?
He's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is just like
stunning.
Hi, R2. It was so good in Descender, but this like for me was another level. It blew my mind from page 1.
Yeah, same here, man.
I'll agree with that.
John's like looking again, like he didn't notice it.
I mean, it's a different type of shot grab. Like, it's you get the beauty of it. It's not like Gerard's like Mr. Miracle #1, where the guys there were like after trying to commit suicide. This is just from the get go. It just looks beautifully like watercolor painted.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Like, every panel is painted, so it's
the line work and like the actual drawing of it is so good. But his watercolors are just, and he does this all himself, which is crazy. He doesn't have a colorist.
What else has he done besides these 2 Jeff Lemire series?
He did some stuff on Detective Comics. He's done. I don't know his whole bibliography, but yeah, he's ultra talented.
Yeah, definitely, man.
You're awfully quiet about the artwork, John.
I don't think I need to chime in too much. I mean, you guys hit the nail on the head. I think it's. I don't know. I'm not familiar with Dustin. I'm going to say I don't know that I've knowingly read anything that he's done before. It reminded me a little bit of like a David Mack style, like as far as some of those like light on lines, really nice. It almost looks like watercolored pieces, and I did really enjoy it. I think it's the first thing that draws you in. Absolutely.
I like the usage of shadows. Like, I don't know if you notice like the way that he uses, like it's very effective. Like especially in like some of these darker scenes, like even the scene with the dad, like where like she's entering the house, but you see the shadow of the dad. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's a subtle touch.
When she's in the sun at the market, you see the shading underneath of her eyes. Like it just adds another level to it.
It's just very nuanced. I mean, and even on the last page, you see, you know, her as the shadow of her experiencing this crash landing. You know,
I don't know if everyone missed my awesome joke or just didn't like it.
What was the joke?
John said, "I'm not familiar with Dustin," and I said, "Why? Do you only vacuum?"
Oh, I didn't hear it.
Sorry, man.
I would have laughed.
I was like, man, I figured someone would have laughed at that. I thought it was pretty good.
Somewhere, JD's wife is laughing.
That was a good one. I was just focused in on trying to be part of the show and like answer like.
Craig Boer says issue 2's cover is 6, so I'm gonna go take a look at that.
Yeah, they have a little gallery of color covers in the back for the next couple issues.
Oh yeah, that is sick. Yeah.
All in all, I was happy with this read, man, and it really
Me
does.
too. I mean, I've already committed to it on my pull list at this point, which sucks because I just was trying to get back. And like when John invited me to to do it again, I was like, you know what? I've been trying to cut back my pull list. I'm gonna get this digitally, and I never finished, Descender or whatever. So yeah, I'll just get it digitally. Then I ended up getting the book, and
strangely, I put it on my pull list and had to get it digitally.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I ordered 3 copies. I was psyched for it. I pre-ordered it. It's going to probably be here next week or 2. Nice. Then John and Alec invited me on, so I pre-ordered it from my comic book store, figuring I'll just jet up there after work today. And then I found out this morning that I could download it. Dear Lord. I muted it and turned it all the way down.
It doesn't want to listen to you.
No.
R2 is not to be silenced.
No. So yeah, basically I'll probably have one copy to give away to somebody.
Nice.
But I'm psyched, and it actually made me want to go back and read Descender to see if,
going back and finishing Descender has now emerged too near the top of my reading priority list outside of other things that I need to read for to prepare for YouTube shows.
Same here. I mean, I had seen the picture around when I was kind of first starting to get back into the comic community, and then White Whale had a show where he showed it, and I think Killer Be Killed was on there, and Descender, and a couple other ones, and it just kind of reinforced me to get the title. I read the first one, and I just never got around to reading it.
I want to pick up something tangible so I can finish it rather than digital.
Yeah, this is the first deluxe hardcover.
That's the first 16 issues.
Yeah,
I
believe so.
Yeah.
Super nice presentation.
Nice.
But the next one of those doesn't come out till December, so you'll have to either read the trades. But it is, John, do you have a desire to go back and read that now?
I think that like Kavi is saying, I would probably have not put it on my pull list and instead use that money to buy some of the trades. I would say it's motivating enough for me to want to read a whole lot more and be in this universe. I would rather start at the beginning and not necessarily dive in right here. Although it sounds like what everybody's saying is it doesn't matter. Like this is a starting point just as much as any other.
Yes, Tacoma Comics, Driller is a real killer.
Driller is the man.
Driller is the man. It's a character.
I love reading his character in my head.
Same here. He's one of my favorites.
My inner canon. Reading his character is so much fun. Yeah.
For me, this is 2 huge thumbs ups.
Same. I would agree with that.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up, man. And then you can also choose, since they're 2 standalone stories, if you want to go more sci-fi and robots and stuff, go over to Descender. If you want to go more fantasy and magic and stuff, go over here to Ascender. I feel
they do complement each other nicely so far. I mean, we're only 1 issue in here on this Ascender, but
we don't know how far it's going to expand.
We don't really know yet, but
you also the advantage of reading Descender right now is that you have more to read, right?
Yeah,
you can go back and just power through it and get
more
this
art to enjoy.
Whole incredible story.
I reread the first volume of Descender, which is the only one I had, in an hour.
Yeah, the trades read pretty quickly.
It's a quick read,
but there are a couple issues that just what Dustin Gwynn does with the artwork and complimenting Jeff Lemire's writing just is mind blowing. It's for me one of the best series of the last few years, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like every time you guys do an Image #1, I end up having to buy more books.
Yeah, Middle West, Die.
Yep, all of those ended up on my pull list, and for the long haul.
Which I would argue is a testament to what Image is doing right now.
Absolutely.
I really do feel like picking up Image ones for the quality of reading, not spec, the quality of reading is a safe bet. And you're gonna find creators, writers, artists, people who are doing things that they're interested in and that are going to be unlike basically anything else you're seeing anywhere.
Yeah, I think we've picked especially well as far as which Image number ones we've chosen.
That's true.
But because we didn't do Little Bird, but that would be my fourth one on this list of like really killer Image titles lately. But outside of our show, which I'm sure has absolutely zero effect on the market because I am nobody.
I mean, I'm reading a couple other ones. Like I'm really enjoying Prodigy right now.
Sure, yeah.
So
there are definitely like other. I don't want to say there aren't other good Image titles, but you look at the secondary market, and I don't want to talk about spec or hype, but like Middle West and Die both have really kind of jumped and become this.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. The ones that we've talked about on our show are doing really well.
Coincidence?
I don't know, man. I had one of those sweet ass Middle West all white variant covers in my auction, and it went unsold.
The Scotty Young one?
Yeah, man. I had it.
Yeah,
and I had a Scotty Young signature.
Dude,
for
I almost
bid.
honestly,
I'll hit you up on Instagram, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess I missed
that's
that
what I'm
part of the
saying.
auction. My bad.
I almost pulled the trigger on it, but I bought like 6 other lots from Bake on that auction. So
I love the story, man. I was just like, dude, they're gonna love this book, and it's like crickets.
I watched most of the auction. I don't know when I missed that.
Yeah, somehow Alec and I missed the one thing we would have fought and bidding on.
yeah.
Tacoma Comics says Die has died down. Virgin variant is closer to 100 than 200 now. I said from the beginning that 200 was artificially inflated. I feel like it was quite literally artificially inflated. I think that people fluctuated the market for their own favor.
Yeah, Tacoma got a shout out from Stephanie Hahn, right? That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I heard about that. And John was trying to tell me about that. And then I was like, Great Legends retiring.
Like, Great Legends retiring. Shut the heck up about your freaking Stephanie Hahn, man. Nobody wants to hear it.
That's super cool. I'm going to have to go back and watch that.
I will say it's a fun live stream. Tacoma Comics is a really great guy. He's got great. He participates in a lot of auctions. He's a really good guy. But he really loves
Bird variant.
He bought my Sex Criminals #1 9.8 on our auction, I think.
Nice.
And he decided to put together a little 1 through 5 die breakdown discussion. And D Comic Queen was on there, and Bear Island Comics was on there. It was a lot of fun. I thought it was very interesting, and I had really cool things.
Yeah, great guy. So going back to my point about what influencers we are in the market, pick up your copy of Ascender number 1 now, because it is about to blow up in value because we're talking about it. So yeah, pull list for me for sure.
Call it the white whale bump. The white whale.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Well, and I, as a trade paperback reader in general, like that was kind of like my way of reading, because I was a reader. I just wanted to read. I wasn't buying books for spec or for value or anything. I would much prefer to spend, instead of the $4 a month on the individual issues for Ascender, I'd rather put $9 into I think my LCS had the first trade for $9.
Yeah.
And from the comic book day, they're probably going to be 50.
I think the first trade digitally is like $3.99.
So there you go.
It's crazy. It's cheap.
Or you can get it from your local library.
Yeah, where that?
Gray Matter Hulk says white whale humpback bump. That's the type of whale. Very good.
The humpback bump sounds really iffy.
Sounds like a Fergie song.
Yeah, hashtag no spec.
Yeah, since I've kind of given up on spec, I've kind of realized that a lot of my tastes have gone more indie. And
Yeah.
now I'm really getting like 1 to 2 titles a week, maybe, if that sometimes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think my core tastes are a mix between Image and Marvel. Like I've noticed that I just like my DC pull list is really specific to Batman, and now that Heroes in Crisis is over, it's really just specific to Batman. I can't think of another DC title that I read besides Batman related titles.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't want to. I don't know. It's gonna sound like a jerky thing, but for like the last, I would say, 15 years for me, Vertigo and Image have been the titles that I have consistently enjoyed reading more than anything Marvel and DC does.
Same
Right.
here.
Yeah,
I think they're
I would
just.
agree.
I think they're just told better.
Right. Well, and there's more creative freedom, expression, and
Yeah.
I think they're hungry, man.
just possibilities in
The
general.
artists are hungry and they're passionate because they get to keep the rights to their stuff and they want to do it. Like when they're just over there at Marvel or DC, if they don't get one of the big titles,
Right. And there isn't 60 odd years of
history you have to use. And,
right.
Right. You can do anything your mind comes up with, and that's more.
And hey, sometimes that's a crap product, and sometimes, man, they hit it out of the park, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Sure. Listen, Image puts out some real turds. I'm not gonna say that they're, knocking.
Yeah, but when they hit it far, man.
They hit it real hard. I mean, there's certainly some Captain Marvels in the Image universe. So that's Ascender number 1.
Yes.
Great. Very glad that I was correct in picking this, as I usually am.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys picked it too, because it really sort of reignited sort of like a piece of my comic book reading history that I had like almost forgotten about, with Descender, and I was like, you know what, I never got back around to reading that, so now I definitely will, and I probably will be keeping going on this also.
Yeah, it's funny. John and I usually kind of debate what we're going to read each week. And this week I was just like, I told him, I was like, we're reading Ascender 1. I don't care what else is coming out.
Yeah, when John messaged
He didn't say that for Little Bird either, though. He wasn't like, well, Little Bird, we're doing Little Bird.
Yeah, when John messaged me, I so wanted to do it, and I just didn't know if I could with my comic book store. And I'm like, I just got to make this happen.
Yeah.
So onto our debate topic. It is a pretty
chocolate chip cookie dough.
Yeah. Okay, ice cream flavors. Let's do it. I am gonna pull hard for vanilla, and I'll tell you why. It's easy to put a bunch of crap into ice cream and make it taste good. If you can do vanilla really well, now you're onto something.
Alec, we're agreeing again. This is dangerous.
Oh, geez.
I love vanilla.
I'm allergic to chocolate. And 90% of the desserts that I enjoy the most these days are vanilla.
Vanilla is great, man. You can mix and match anything with it, or you can just enjoy it plain all by itself.
Yeah, I have a real qualm with vanilla being referred to as a synonym for boring, because I think it is top notch.
Yeah. Do you think all white Air Force Ones are boring? No, they're awesome.
Do I think what?
All white Air Force Ones are boring? No, they're awesome. They're one of the best, the highest selling shoes out there.
Gray Matter Hulk says, pull hard for vanilla. That's a catchphrase. Listen, I love mint chocolate chip. I love Oreo. There's a lot of great flavors, but vanilla.
I like the plain, man. The same with the Girl Scout cookies. I'll go with the shortbreads, just the plain. I don't need all that crazy sugary goodness, even though I love it.
I'm just gonna say the entire chat seems to agree with Alec every time, no matter what he says.
Yeah, because
if I had started off by saying, "Hey, vanilla is great," I would have had a lot of derision.
Well, we learned from TJ a long time ago. Just listen to Alec.
And also,
he didn't say it was supposed to be just about comics. He said just listen to Alec.
Nobody ever says listen to John.
Because people like me.
Hey, I'm a likable guy.
#100.
And I'll leave the rest of that thought up to you. So this was not our initial debate topic, but I dig it.
I mean, I never got to answer the ice cream question though.
Yeah,
So
what is it?
I mean, maybe this is a little too fancy for you vanilla enthusiasts, but I like that dulce de leche stuff. You ever had that?
Yeah, man, that's all over down here.
That's like my jam. I mean, I rarely eat ice cream, but if I'm gonna eat ice cream, it's gonna be that rich dulce de leche.
Oh, it's great. Americone Dream, great.
Neapolitan.
Onto our fourth topic of this show. we had a sender number one, then we had the rise of Image Comics, then we had ice cream flavors, and now what do we have?
We have our favorite sequels.
Favorite sequels.
Weekend at Bernie's 2.
Hell yeah.
Empire Strikes Back.
I'm a purist. I'm a cinemaphile. It's Godfather 2. There's no debate.
Yes,
that's my second. That's my number 2.
Is there any other Godfather than Godfather 2?
Does there even need to be?
There's Godfather 1. I mean, that's pretty classic.
I just gotta say, it took me like 3 months to get through Godfather 1. It took me like one sitting to get through Godfather 2. I couldn't get away from it.
Boom.
T2, great choice. No one. Alien, great choice.
T2 is awesome.
But the correct answer is Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Yes. I showed that DVD on a direct edition the other week.
That's right.
Oh my God, I saw that.
Single-handedly the best movie to come out of the 80s.
It's so funny.
If we're talking strictly part 2s,
Wrath of Khan,
I would say T2 is my pick. If we're talking,
I think we're talking any sequel, but that is a great pick for part 2s. Yeah.
Furious 7.
Huh.
I've always said James Cameron knows how to do a deuce.
Yeah. He does. Aliens, T2, Avatar 2, I'm sure will blow it out of the water. Get it? Because it takes place underwater. If it ever comes out.
Yes, Turbo and Ozone. Yeah, Back to the Future 2. That's a great
Comics,
one.
Back to the Future 2. Yeah, that's a good one.
Christmas Vacation.
Christmas Vacation is like, I love that movie, but Vacation is also excellent.
No disrespect to the originals. This debate topic is simply what is the best sequel, not necessarily which sequel is better than the original.
Oh, fair enough.
And it doesn't even have to be movie.
So much. I got the cousin Eddie Pop.
It could be a book or comic also, so it doesn't have.
Merry Christmas. Alec was full.
Alec is a little gun shy because we discussed best. Are there any comedies sequels that are better than the originals? Because comedy sequels are notoriously horrible, like just notoriously atrociously bad. And I felt like the only one that my brothers and we've debated this sadly many times, is Christmas Vacation. That there is no other comedy sequel worthy in any way, at least close to coming better than the original.
Caddyshack 2.
Oh, come on. That's not even close. Caddyshack 1 is so superior.
I'm just playing, man.
But it's not bad. And just like Airplane 2 is not bad. Dude. It's just not Airplane 1.
Police Academy, Mission to Moscow.
DS Comics is saying Austin Powers? Question mark.
I'm gonna go outside the box and not even give some movie choices. I'm gonna say Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion 2 versus 1.
Now, is that technically a sequel because they came out on the same day?
I think it's a sequel. I think it's a unique album.
I love that answer.
What about
we've never had anybody bring up music on
what about Metallica? Metallica Reload.
Both.
What about the Carter 4?
Yeah, so that's a good question though. Like,
or the Marshall Mathers LP.
Debate topic number 5. Is a follow-up album to a debut album a sequel?
Depends on your interpretation of it, I guess.
Unless it has the letter B or 2.
Led Zeppelin 2. That's a good one.
But man, Led Zeppelin 1's so good. Good Times, Bad Times.
Both,
I have said this about Good Times,
it's
Bad
so
Times.
good. Both of them are good.
When that album came out and every other rock band on the planet turned on track 1, side A, and heard Good Times, Bad Times, how did they all not just give up?
It's a classic jam. I love that jam.
And you know that little drum part that
I recorded when I was in college. One of my assignments, I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston. One of my assignments was to record a sound-alike for Good Times, Bad Times. So I had to actually reproduce the recording and make it sound like the original as best as I possibly could. So I had to go way down the rabbit hole, like to analyze the sound of that record. So it's one of my favorite records of all time. So love it. Incredible record.
There's this little kick drum part that John Bonham does. It's like he did that with 1 foot.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Like the drummer with Def Leppard, 1 hand.
Yeah. There's a great line in Freaks and Geeks where one of the characters is walking to the hall, Jason Segel's character, and he just goes, he's like looking really sad, and someone asks him what's wrong. He's like, John Bonham's dead. And he's like, yeah, man, it's been a long time. And he's like, yeah, but like John Bonham's dead. It's really funny.
It's a great show.
It was very good.
Bat Out of Hell 2, says TJ.
Yeah, that's a Meatloaf.
Oh, I know a sequel. Batman 2 with Danny DeVito and Michelle Pfeiffer. That's pretty up there, man.
Oh, you mean Batman Returns?
Yeah, Batman Returns.
So is The Dark Knight is a sequel to Batman Begins. So I mean that's a pretty.
What about Avengers Endgame? Oops, we're not.
No.
No Avengers Endgame talk. That was a joke.
No spec, no Endgame.
No spec, no Endgame.
No spec, no Endgame. Hashtag.
Joe Perry.
DF Comics says Batman or Robin with Schwarzenegger.
It is very trippy. Like that scene at the beginning with the ice skating rink, and it's so weird.
And the skeleton hockey players that come.
Yeah.
Me too, Caleb. He's like 6 p.m. tomorrow. Me too.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3: Secret of the Ooze.
Secret of the Ooze classic.
Part 2. Is that number 2?
That was 2.
3 is Turtles in Time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Since I brought up Endgame, I'm going to wrap this up because hi R2. Hashtag Susan forever.
One more R2 for the road.
The only spec we're allowed to spec on is Susan. I'm oh man, if can you just imagine if Sabrina 2 comes out and there's a character called Susan in it?
And it like skyrockets.
Yeah. If someone over at Archie happened to watch this show and was like, just throw the name Susan in there. Good God. I would laugh for the rest of my life. Return of the Living Dead Part 2. Yeah, there's a lot of great like horror sequels.
Horror is filled with some amazing sequels. Die Hard, it's great.
Die Hard 2.
Good call, Biggie Shaq.
Die Hard 3
Rambo 2. Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Rocky 2 is arguable.
I still think John has the best pick with Godfather 2.
Yeah,
it's a great pick.
It is like
somebody likes my pick, you guys.
It's like the expected traditional. Like, yes, that is the best sequel.
And Empire Strikes Back is good.
Yeah, Empire Strikes Back.
But it's boring because it's true.
I'll look at my shelf.
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. JP's Budget Collecting. Yeah. That Easter Bunny part when they go in hell and when they're reliving all their childhood memories, that used to freak me out.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Spider-Man 2 also from the Tobey Maguire.
Evil Dead 2. That's the one.
I mentioned that a second ago. Wait.
Army of Darkness. I mean, come on.
Much better. Evil Dead 1, I mean, had potential, but super low budget.
We're getting off the rails.
John Wick 2 is not better than John Wick 1.
I agree with you, Alec, on that. I like both films, though.
John Wick 1 is a 10 out of 10.
Scream 2. That's a good one.
I don't know. Scream 1 was pretty epic.
Yeah, I don't know how you get Scream 1 to Scream 2. Boo.
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 Don't boo our chat, John.
I can boo Biggie.
I get Boo Biggie.
Boo Biggie.
Boo Biggie. Cool. Anything you guys want to plug? Before we,
yeah, man, I hit 200 subscribers and I got this awesome giveaway.
Congratulations.
I've loaded this large flat rate box with some comics and comic collectible goodie type stuff. So stay tuned to one of my videos or live streams, and I'll probably do a giveaway in the chat.
Nice, dude. I don't have a whole lot going on, honestly. Like, I think I'm on the road to 400 subscribers. I'm at like 380 or something. So I'll do another contest when I get there, or maybe my growth will be so painfully slow that I'll just do it and just pretend like I'm at 400 subscribers, even though I'm not. So I might launch a contest soon. We shall see. The only other thing I got sort of on the immediate radar is 2 shows next week. Monday on JP's Budget Collecting, we're going to be talking about Long Halloween. Thanks for letting us have it, Alec, after that mix-up.
It worked out real well. Y is going great.
Good. So that's on Monday on JP's channel. And then on Tuesday, I don't know if it's actually been announced yet or if JD mentioned it on Comic Core while they were wrapping up and we were going on. But I believe next Tuesday, I'm going to be on Stranger Things showing some original art and stuff.
Yeah, it has been announced. Yeah.
Has been announced. Okay, cool. So so I'll be on Stranger Things hanging out with JD and TJ Slabdragon, so that should be fun.
JP, I would argue you can type too well because you put Monday twice.
There we go.
He's making fun of himself. I'm just how about Bumblebee? I haven't seen it, but I heard that's much better than the other Transformers movies.
Oh, I saw it, man. The opening is awesome because it's just 80s nostalgia overload.
I've seen, and it is crazy. What about you, John? What do you got?
This
I got Saturday morning comics with the girls.
You just make fun of my freaking kids.
No, I made fun of you. Your kids are what keep your
channel afloat. Yes,
yeah.
And you.
They're a delight.
I am working on an edited video, Alec. I'm starting a new series called Starting Line, and it should drop this weekend. I'm doing shorter videos, edited, trying to tell you if you have a character you've never read before, where should you start reading for that character? So I'm going to drop the first episode this weekend for The Punisher. If you want to know where to jump in on The Punisher, what issue to go, I don't think Punisher issue 1 is the best decision. I got a slightly outside the box choice for you there. So you can watch the episode and see where to jump in if you want to read on The Punisher.
I was going to do something similar.
Pull hard for vanilla with John's Comics a Kid.
I'm going to do it
with the John Travolta Punisher movie.
Yeah, Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah.
Dolph Lundgren, yeah.
Besides that movie, I'm saying.
Fine, you can have that idea. Go for it. No, that sounds great. That's really cool. I'm looking forward to it. I should make more edited videos, but I am lazy.
I just want to say, you guys are the best. Thanks for having me on again. Thanks for having Bake and I on. We have a show together also called Direct Edition Squad, which I always forget to promote. I'm sorry.
Sorry, guys. It's a fun project, man. So
it's like a fun project that we just like. We have no pressure around it whatsoever. We just hop on and have a good time on Sunday nights. So if anyone out there hasn't subscribed to that channel, go check it out. We're on once a week, Sunday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. So that's me, Bake, Soldier Only, Fuchsia Only, and Jeffrey Comic-Con Henson is the crew over there. So
it's a really good show. I'll recommend checking it out. You guys should definitely log in on. They have their own channel, and you can log in there and then hit the notification bell when they hit up every weekend. You can enjoy it.
John, did we double confirm next week's book?
Fact, done, set.
Would you like to announce it?
Deceased issue number 1 is going to be our book for next week. This new ongoing event, or upcoming event, I should say, not ongoing, event from DC Comics. And our guest is going to be Mr. Caleb the Comic Smurf Murphy.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Good to see him.
Happy guy reading the scariest book.
Dude, a lot of people are sleeping on that It cover for the Deceased. I mean, that's so creepy because of It, but then you kind of throw that in there, how Jason Todd was murdered by the Joker. Like, it adds another layer to it.
Spoilers.
I love that. Yeah, spoilers.
I love the issue 2 Nightmare on Elm Street.
Spoilers from
homage.
30 years ago.
Yeah, I do like that Nightmare cover.
But then issue 3 is like the Nun or something. It's really weird for the homage. It's really weird choice.
Try to get the kids, you know, the
Is
young,
it,
young kids.
is it anthology style or is it an event? Like,
Yeah, Gray Matter, that Nightmare on Elm Street looks good.
I thought it was an event, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know.
Cool. I got Story Comic Core on Mondays at the moment. I think we're going to be doing 10 or 11, depending on. I think we're going to try to make it consistently 11. JD and I were talking about it because my work schedule is wacky, so sometimes I get out at 10:30. So consistently at 10 would not work for me, and I'm kind of the big deal over there. Not really. It's a collaborative effort. Everyone is great on that show. Myself, it's Caleb. It is 90 MF Comics, Chad from 90 MF Comics, and Kenny from Comic Head 84. And we're talking Why the Last Man. We're through 10 issues. We got 50 to go. So come join us, read along.
I think 84 is joining us on our Long Halloween. So if any of you guys who did read the Long Halloween recently want to join us on that,
preparation for our first show,
you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome.
I will definitely be in that chat for sure.
Yeah, one of my absolute favorite Batman titles.
Same.
For sure. Cool. I guess that's it. Roll up them horns. Thank you for joining us. This has been New Comic Book Day Book Club. Thank you to everyone on the panel and everyone in the chat. Enjoy your night. Never turn your back to the ocean. Bye.